Pedro has played a father in so many different texts, a found father figure, but do you think it's safe to say that Reed is the first capital D daddy in the MCU?
What's your go-to at McDonald's?
No, I'll tell you, Burger King. We did the double,
Whopper?
The double.
I haven't ripped Burger King in a long time.
Burger King kind of sucks.
Yeah.
No, you're wrong.
The BK Lounge can hit.
I disagree completely.
You like Burger King over McDonald's?
That's your worst take, I think.
Absolutely.
It's a good point. Someone said having Netanyahu on is like having modern day Hitler.
No, I saw that.
Which is, honestly, guys, I'll be honest. I'm here to... It's a good point.
My family lineage is settlers from the 1500s. So
you don't look very Native American to me.
I am Native American. Whites are Native Americans. What are you talking about?
Like understands like what's happening in the world. Like, and you guys don't have to, because like people love you for prank and lifestyle content.
AI is not the tool I thought it was for writing questions.
We did go
to CBS and Paramount. A plague on both of your houses. Wait.
I'm very grateful.
Yes.
I think you've been great partners.
Yeah.
So last summer, I made a video about the state of the modern podcasting economy and how I think in general it is problematic and unhelpful that a lot of these podcasting shows and food-based interview platforms have replaced traditional journalism and have become pretty much the only way to get access to not only celebrities but just important people in general to get their thoughts on things. That video was posted in August of last year, and somehow I feel like the state of digital media and what we consider content, especially interview content, has declined considerably since then. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the decline of the digital economy and content ecosystem and, why everything is inflammatory slop now. And the way that we're gonna do that is by diving a little deeper into some of the clips that I just played you. And this one's gonna get a little dark and a little doomer, but we're gonna start a little lighter and talk about the shit show that is the Fantastic Four press tour.
What's up, influencer?
So that is Ebon Moss-Bachrach, who you might know as Cousin Richie and the Bear, who is also playing the Thing in the new iteration of Fantastic Four, which as of recording this comes out next week. Ebon greets the crowd in this press room in an interesting way by saying, "Hello, influencers." And to me, that is the root of the problem here. I feel like I have a unique perspective on this as someone who used to be a journalist and is now an influencer. They are not the same thing. Or at least when it comes to press tours like this, they serve different purposes but are treated the same way. A lot of these new media and digital outlets and the people that the Fantastic Four marketing team want in the room are not trained journalists. They are influencers with large followings who have built some kind of platform off of breaking, comic book news or just, talking about movies online or whatever. Or they are just kids who have been trained in the art of extracting viral sound bites from celebrities because that is all that the Fantastic Four marketing team cares about, and that is also all that the digital media outlets sending them there care about at the end of the day. Everybody wants their own holding space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity moment, you know what I mean? Ultimately, this all boils down to the fact that there is a crisis of credibility going on in this current ecosystem, which may seem trivial in the grand scheme of things when we're talking about a press tour for the big superhero summer blockbuster, but the problem trickles down to everything else. Most people are not watching these interviews and this press junket because the people doing the interviews are well respected in the space. The people doing these interviews are either influencers on TikTok who are likable and relatable and people like getting their movie news from them, or they're completely expendable in the equation and are just serving as content prompters. They're asking questions to get these viral sound bites that will then go viral on TikTok that other influencers can then talk over. This is kind of how everything works now, especially in the field of entertainment journalism, but people have been noticing it a little bit more recently with the Fantastic Four press tour because of a couple of the clips that I played earlier in the video. The first one being the clip of the interviewer asking Pedro Pascal about the daddy meme because he has been referred to as a daddy because he has played several different father figures during his career. Pedro is tired of this meme, we are all tired of this meme, and it's clearly now going viral for all of the wrong reasons. Because these media outlets are under the impression that audiences are just clapping seals who want to be fed the same sound bites ad nauseum, when in reality there is an appetite for better questions and a better understanding of the celebrities that are being interviewed. I frequently point to Sean Evans from Hot Ones as an example of this. Sean used to be a journalist and is now an influencer, but uses his journalism background to be able to do basic research and ask interesting, disarming questions that often get celebrities to reveal more about themselves, their process, and their art. Now, there is a separate problem here about Hot Ones and Chicken Shop Date and all these other shows being the only way to see a somewhat interesting interview with a celebrity, because celebrities don't do interviews with real entertainment journalists anymore for fear that those journalists would ask really invasive or combative questions and not be buddy-buddy with them the whole time while they're choking down a chicken wing. But at its core, Hot Ones is popular because Sean Evans asks good and interesting questions, which is not the norm anymore. In fact, a lot of the questions being asked on these press tours sound like they're coming from ChatGPT. And during this same press tour, it was confirmed that in some cases, the questions are coming from ChatGPT. This interviewer named Will Best is going viral again for all of the wrong reasons right now, because while interviewing Vanessa Kirby and Pedro Pascal, he asked a question based on a fact that was wrong, and then when they corrected him, he got flustered and admitted that he used AI as a means of preparing for this interview. So I don't know who needs to hear this, but interviewing is a skill, and it's actually hard. I'm a rather introverted person in real life, so when I had to interview people or cold call or do anything like that during my journalism jobs, it was a nightmare. But the best that you can do in that situation is, you know, the bare minimum that you can do in that situation at the very least is do your research on who you're interviewing and be prepared and know what you want to ask. And it's very disheartening to see that, like, that is not even, like, in the base criteria to be interviewing Vanessa Kirby and Pedro Pascal. Like, that's crazy. As long as you're entertaining, it doesn't really matter what your interview skills are, or whether or not they're relevant to the conversation that you're having. Right, guys? Right?
That's a death
Which is crazy, yeah. Some of the anti-Semitism I see is pretty nuts.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I'll tell you, I'm an American Jew, and it's hard to identify as that.
I understand.
You almost don't even want to own it.
But I think we just changed history. I see American Jews are very proud now. Jews around the world are very proud because we, these guys were out to murder us.
Okay, so the clip that I just played for you is from the Full Send podcast, which is hosted by the NELK Boys. The NELK Boys are generally known for partying and pranks and lifestyle content. Everything that they do is for shock value, attention, and views, and they will be the first to admit this. I'm not making this up. So why, you might ask, are they currently sitting in a well-lit environment in suits talking to the President of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu? Well, the answer is because they actually have a direct line of communication to folks in the Trump administration. And according to the NELK Boys themselves, that is who set up this interview. This sent shockwaves through the online sphere because it is very clear that the NELK Boys are not equipped to have this kind of conversation with a world leader, and they have also admitted to this following the backlash of this interview. Netanyahu went on this show for two reasons. One, he is very unpopular and is attempting to humanize himself in front of a young audience who likely does not know any better. And two, he is well aware of the fact that the NELK Boys are not going to push back on anything he says. He can just spread his bullshit propaganda and they won't correct him because they don't know how to correct him, which is why you will never see Benjamin Netanyahu do any kind of podcast with a left-leaning individual, or, to take it one step further, even do a sit-down interview with an actual journalist who would be able to push back on any of the stuff that he's saying here.
Hassan, anyone goes on a podcast to promote whatever they're doing. We're aware of that.
They're not. But Benjamin Netanyahu's not promoting a book, dog. He's promoting a genocide.
Bro,
that's the point.
So the more interesting part of this story was the aftermath when the NELK Boys went on Hassan Piker's stream to defend themselves alongside Adam Friedland and basically explained that they could not pass up the opportunity to have a world leader on their show because, well, think of the views. Not only that, but they thought they were justified because apparently next week, according to them, they are having some kind of Palestinian activist on their show, which in their words will demonstrate the other side of the issue. Hassan and Adam go on to explain that their quote-unquote seemingly good intentions do not justify platforming a war criminal, and they try to make it clear to the NELK Boys that they are being used for propaganda, to which the NELK Boys agree. They just don't give a fuck. Now, the thing that's interesting to me here is that the NELK Boys have a very rudimentary understanding of how to have a responsible platform, or at least how they're justifying it. They're saying that they're going to have a Palestinian activist, somebody from what they claim is the other side, come onto their show, and then people can make up their own minds from there, right? And that on its face, I guess, is not like the worst intention that you could have, but platforming different viewpoints is not the journalism part. It's the preparation and the context and the asking of specific questions. That's the journalism part. And that's what they don't do. The base concept of being fair by giving both sides equal time is not enough to cover your ass in this situation, because the context of what you're asking these different people is what's important. The questions that you're asking a Palestinian activist should be very different from the questions that you're asking a world leader. Not every perspective, such as Benjamin Netanyahu's perspective, needs to be platformed and validated without questioning for the sake of being fair. Which brings me to a bit of a side tangent, but I think it's relevant here if we're talking about the value of platforming people and treating all perspectives as equal. Let's talk about how much I hate Jubilee.
You
Carl
liberals,
Schmitt, the Nazi theoretician.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't care.
Are you a fan of the Nazis?
I frankly don't care being called a Nazi at all.
I didn't say that. I didn't actually say that. I said, are you a fan of the Nazis?
Well, they persecuted the church a little bit. I'm not a fan of that. But
what about the persecution of the Jews?
Well, I mean, I certainly don't support anyone's human dignity being assaulted. I'm a Catholic.
But you don't condemn Nazi persecution of the Jews?
So this is yet another clip in the digital media ecosystem that is going viral this week. It is from a channel called Jubilee, which is the bane of my existence. Jubilee started out by making more friendly content, or at least less hostile content, dedicated to showing the different perspectives of humanity, and how different categories of people have different perspectives on issues within their community, and how ultimately they can find common ground. Now, they do inflammatory debate content where they invite actually smart, well-educated leftists to come on their show and surround them with literal Nazis who don't fucking know anything. Then they let these mouth-breathing troglodytes loudly yell over the person they're supposed to be debating and give no time for the person they're supposed to be debating to actually respond to any of their dogshit points. This is nothing. This is slop bullshit that doesn't provide anything of value. But we're in the era now where we can just give anyone a microphone and pretend that their voice is equally as important and valid just because they are in front of said microphone. It doesn't matter what they're saying. They have authority because they are able to speak to an audience. And you might be saying, well, Kayla, you're a hypocrite because you pretend that you're a voice of authority in front of a microphone. And no, I don't. I'm an influencer. Granted, I try to be a bit more responsible with my platform than some other influencers, but I don't have to do that, and you don't have to listen to me. The current digital media ecosystem is a double-edged sword because it has become the great equalizer in the sense that now everyone has a voice and you can choose which voices to listen to. But again, that doesn't mean that all voices, especially the ones that loudly proclaim that they are fascists, should be listened to. Unfortunately, Jubilee and some of the other examples that I mentioned here have a lot of staying power within internet spaces because they get watched. And because they get watched, they have sort of this endless stream of money to do whatever they want and broadcast whatever they want, whether or not that is the responsible thing to do. Views are power, especially because the cultural capital of traditional broadcasting institutions is declining. And there's nothing more emblematic of that right now than the cancellation of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
On Friday, Donald Trump posted, "I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his rating."
Listen, it is no secret that late night and also, just traditional cable TV as we know it is on its way out, largely due to the rise in popularity of this kind of internet content. Paramount is seemingly jumping the gun here, allegedly for financial reasons. However, it has become more apparent that it is more likely because they need a merger to go through with another company called Skydance, and they need the federal government's help in making sure that that merger gets done. So it is not unfair to surmise that Stephen Colbert, who has been loudly critical of President Trump in the past, is getting the axe as a means of appeasing him so that the merger goes through more easily on Paramount's part. No matter how you feel about Steven or his comedy or his politics, this should scare you because it's a clear instance of a corporation being bullied by the federal government into silencing a voice. Meanwhile, the voices that are getting uplifted in the current digital economy are the ones that have a direct line to the Trump administration, such as the NELK boys, who got an exclusive interview with Benjamin fucking Netanyahu. Part of the reason why we're here is because traditional journalism and the corporate institutions funding it have failed us in more ways than one. People don't feel like they can trust news that is beholden to corporate interests, and so they go elsewhere. They get their news from people who they believe cannot be bought. But even if there's this illusion or mystique of these people being free thinkers who can just say what they think and feel without corporate backing or any kind of journalism training or illusion of fairness and centrism, they're beholden to something much different and in some cases a little bit more sinister. The YouTube algorithm and the TikTok algorithm. Everybody moves recklessly, nobody takes themselves seriously because nothing is serious and everything is content.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago.
The institution of journalism used to be built on trust and credibility and expecting people to generally do the right thing and disseminate information honestly and fairly with the information that they were given. But now that expectation is gone, the barrier has been removed, and all we're left with is noise.